Morning everybody, welcome to the Dorchester here in London. Welcome to the worldwide media. The fights get tougher, the events get bigger. British boxing continues to grow to new levels. We have a massive night live on Sky Sports box office Saturday, March 31st from the Principality Stadium. A unification fight, the road to the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world between WBO world champion 24-0 Joseph Parker against 20-0, 20 knockouts, IBO, WBA, IBF world champion Anthony Joshua. It's the first time in Britain that two reigning heavyweight world champions have met, and it's the first time in boxing history that two world champions have fought in an undisputed fight with 100% winning records. This is a great fight between two unbeaten, fast, hungry, dangerous heavyweight world champions, and it's part of a huge year of boxing live on Sky Sports. We're going to hear from the fighters now, live on Sky Sports News, before we talk to the camp. Firstly, I'm going to pass over to the reigning WBO heavyweight world champion, Joseph Parker.
Hello everyone. Firstly, it's good to have you all here today. It's great to be back in London. We love it here. We love the food, we love the people, and we're always well looked after. This time is an exciting time to be a heavyweight, especially with this fight that we have lined up. It's good to, flying here, there was nothing sort of announced or locked in, but now that we're here, I'm thankful that we have this contract signed and looking forward to having a date to sort of work towards. I'm looking forward to leaving here tomorrow, back to Vegas to start a hard training camp with my coach Kevin Barry. This is probably going to be the hardest camp in terms of training the hardest and putting in the most work because I have a big challenge in front of me, Joshua. Joshua, I've watched him for a long time. I know he's watched me coming up. I know his strengths. I know he knows mine. I know his weaknesses, and he thinks he knows my weaknesses. And I look forward to, I can't wait to have this fight happen March 31. I can't wait to train hard, can't wait to be back, to put on a great performance, hopefully catch him on the chin and knock him out.
Thank you, Joseph. The only world champion with 100% perfect record, 20 wins, 20 KOs. I'm going to pass over to the reigning IBO, IBF and WBA heavyweight champion of the world, Anthony Joshua.
Happy New Year, everyone. It's good to be back, doing what I enjoy. Last time I was out was in Cardiff. It was a great night. And I took my time because I really knew I wanted to set up for a big 2018. Didn't do nothing spectacular, but I made sure I secured the bag. I got the win, and that was the most important thing. And now we're here. As I said, it's kind of about making history now, and we've always been moving in that direction. So it's an honor to be up here with another world champion. But in terms of Parker, I don't really know how to take his camp in terms of what's been said and what's been going on, but I take everything with a pinch of salt, and I roll with the punches. This is for another strap, and as he said, he's going to be training extremely hard. I think we're all blessed with the ability to work hard. There's no doubt about that, but one thing that I think separates myself is the fact that I mix intelligence with hard work. So not only am I going to be in peak physical condition, I'm making sure my mind's in the right place as well at all times. So I'm looking forward to embrace the challenge, not only from a physical standpoint, but the mental challenge that will come with this fight as well.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm going to pass over to Team Parker now to say a few words. Firstly, from Duco, talk about the words of the camp. David, it's been a pleasure working with you so far in the build-up. I know you've got plenty to say and did a great job in building this fight as well, and truly believe your man will become the unified world champion on March 31st.
Yeah, hey, thank you everyone, and thank you to Eddie and Anthony Joshua for stepping up. People talk about unification, but some don't do it, and talk's cheap. AJ and Eddie have stepped up and made it happen, as have our teams, so I think that's great for the sport and great for the fans. Look, yes, there has been a bit of talk in the build-up, so I think it's important that I clarify a few things. I think, speaking personally first, I actually have an immense amount of respect for Anthony Joshua, as does our team. I think from his beginnings to turn your life around and achieve what he has is a great role model. And I think that winning Olympic gold, with having only walked into a gym at a later age is remarkable. So we respect that, and we respect the achievement of winning 20 straight fights and holding the 2 belts, and we respect even more that he's now stepping in with Joseph Parker unified. Having said all of that, in most countries in the world, it's customary in sport to analyse the strengths and the weaknesses of the opponent. It's not personal. And in most sports it's customary, be it tennis or Formula One. The media and the pundits analyse each other's strengths and weaknesses. And so something that shocked us is apparently in English boxing it's not customary to do that. So it came as a bit of a surprise when we started pointing out what we see as chinks in Anthony Joshua's armour. And there seemed to be a shock that we dare speak about these things. They weren't personal, it wasn't trash talk, statement of fact. Joshua has allegedly, and there's footage going around, been dropped a few times, and we made a point of that, and that killed 2 birds with 1 stone. One, people thought, who the hell is this team Parker and Joseph Parker? So educated the market that there's another world champion named Joseph Parker, and made Joseph big a name here. It created a rivalry, so it built this fight up. And incidentally, Joseph has never been dropped. Started on the pads at age 3. And so it makes it very interesting because the 2 styles, they come forward, these guys, and look for the knockout. So if they're trading, what do we know? We know that one guy's never been dropped and the other has. And so it's important that we do that. That's my job, because a lot of the English see it as a 1-horse race. They write Joseph Parker off. The bookies write him off, right? But when you think about it, I think experienced boxing people will go, hang on a minute, Joseph probably a bit quicker on hand speed, definitely got a better chin, and I would add mentally tougher.
But you know what I learned when I was dropped in that Klitschko fight? Because a lot of people that have spoke about me getting dropped, and hand on my heart, I've used it as a PR stunt in the terms of what you're using it as well. Because when you talk about myself getting dropped on what you've done, it's a markability strategy. And when you want to talk about facts, the 3 times that I have been hurt or dropped was in the European Championships, when McCracken knows I was actually banned from the GB team because I was still getting in trouble. So I went back to Watford, I stopped boxing, and 2 weeks before that European Championship, I was called up to represent the country. I was very unfit, I didn't get dropped, I got stopped. When your tank is empty, it's hard to perform. The second time was with David Price. I'd come out of a police cell the day I went up to training. I'm not going to use that as an excuse, but David Price is a puncher, and lack of experience. And then with Klitschko, and you know all them times what it taught me, it would take more than a human to stop me from where I'm destined to be. And that's why I learned not to walk with sight, because when you're fatigued, you don't know where you are, I walk with faith in this journey. So in terms of using it as a PR stunt, the rumours that you have heard, they're fake news, hand on my heart. So PR, whatever you want to use it for, is between you and your camp. But in terms of facts, I speak on those 3 times. And as I said, what I have learned in those times of adversity and going through storm is that it will take more than any human to stop me on this journey.
Well, thank you, AJ, for addressing it. I don't know if it's been addressed before. I appreciate that. So basically what I'm saying, this is a 50-50 fight. Why? Parker, again, I repeat, I think he's got a better chin, he's quicker, probably better footwork, and mentally tougher. So the fight's a lot closer than what people think. I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you, David. Look forward to hearing more from you later. Kevin, obviously this is a fight that you've been studying for some time as Joseph trainer, and I think when we spice things up with the questions later, deep down everybody in boxing does know, and David's right, this is a proper fight. This is a great unification heavyweight matchup between 2 very talented, undefeated heavyweights.
This is a really exciting fight, and the heavyweight boxing division needs a fight like this. In fact, boxing in general needs a fight like this. They need champions fighting each other. The styles of this fight are a perfect matchup. Both guys like to come forward. You look at Anthony Joshua, big, strong, powerful guy. Probably, I'd be fair to say, he's probably a little stronger than Joe. Won all his fights by knockout. Has a considerable height and reach advantage over Joseph Parker. Joe, as Dave's just outlined before, taking the job as the promoter and the trainer, talking about Joe's hand speed, his footwork. We know that Joe's got very good stamina. We know he's very, very durable. That's what makes this such an exciting fight. This fight is no surprise to us. This fight has been in the makings, I believe, for the last 3 years. We have looked at Anthony Joshua since he came through the Olympic program winning the gold medal. We have terrific respect and admiration for him, what he has achieved. There are a lot of similarities between Joseph Parker and Anthony Joshua, and I know both camps have watched each other over the last few years. If you look at 2014, 15, and 16, Parker fought 5 times a year, Joshua fought 5 times a year. They were the standout prospects in the world at the time, and they had the busiest schedules. You know, we've watched, Joe and I have sat down, we've watched all of Anthony's fights. We've sat there, we've got a log book, we've got playbooks. You know, we knew that this day was going to come. Providing both guys stayed undefeated, we knew that we would be sharing a ring with Anthony Joshua. So, you know, we know his style, we know his strengths. I know that he studied Joseph. This is going to be a very, very exciting fight. Joseph Parker needs a career-defining fight. I believe that Anthony Joshua got his career-defining fight when he fought Vladimir Klitschko. You know, he was taken into places he had never been before. He found out more about himself in that fight that he ever had in any other fight. He went to a very dark place. He picked himself up off the canvas and came back with a sensational win and was one of the fights of the year. Joseph Parker has not had a career-defining fight. So my challenge to my fighter, Joseph Parker, is I need this to be his greatest performance. And if he can show the public and show Anthony Joshua on March 31 what I see in the gym when he's at his best, he's a very, very hard guy to beat.
Thank you, Kevin. Over to Rob McCracken, Anthony's trainer. Say a few words.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit of the baddie. Big Josh is probably a little bit peed off with me because I took him to the European Championships in 2011 on 2 weeks training to teach him a lesson about what international boxing was. He was a novice, he was domestic champion, and he had 3 fights in 5 days. He hadn't had 3 fights in 4 months before that. And we thought long and hard about putting him into the 3rd fight in the quarterfinals. We put him in, but he was exhausted. He won the first 2 rounds. He was in the 3rd round. He was miles ahead. And we retired him because he'd been caught with a couple of heavy shots. But that's 7-8 years ago. The pricey thing was around the same time, 7-8 years ago. Anthony was a novice boxer. I really, in hindsight, possibly shouldn't have been in with those experienced boxers at the time. But we're talking a long time ago, we're talking when he was a novice. That's why it's riled him a little bit, because it's not real. It is fake news, as he says. There's 1 or 2 boxers that are reputed to have knocked him down, knocked him out. Not true. I've been with him for 7 or 8 years. I've been at all of those spots, so none of it's true. But if it gives Team Parker a bit of confidence, great. But the reality of talking about boxing Anthony Joshua and actually getting into a ring with him is very different. And the Klitschko fight was 2 or 3 fights early at the time when we took it, but that's the way Josh is. It was 2 or 3 years early when we took him to the Olympics and the World Championships, which he won. And he stepped up to the challenge. He's different to most fighters. He'll do it in half the time of what it takes most fighters to do it, or get to the top, or reach their potential and the top of their ability. He's very professional. He doesn't like the trash talking, but he's a smart guy. He'll prepare diligently for Parker. He'll take him deadly serious. Parker's a good fighter. He knows what he's doing. And, you know, he's done really well to win a WBO title belt, and he's fought some decent opponents, but he's not fought Anthony Joshua. And let's be honest, in boxing, we could talk all we want here. Talk's very cheap. I think we saw that in Parker's last fight with Fury. You know, he was a strong favourite to win, and he struggled badly. And, you know, we believe he'll struggle badly on March 31st, and AJ will go away from today and he'll prepare diligently for it, and he'll produce a great performance on March 31st.
Thank you, Rob. Over to our host broadcaster, Adam Smith, head of boxing for Sky Sports, to say a few words and ask some more questions for the table.
Yeah, thanks, Eddie. What a wonderful matchup. 44 fights, 38 knockouts between them, both unbeaten. Only the 2nd ever unification between undefeated heavyweights, and the 1st ever clash between 2 reigning heavyweight champions on UK soil. Lennox Lewis, of course, unified the division back in 1999, but AJ will want all the belts. Deontay Wilder holding the WBC, of course. This, I believe, is the right fight at the right time for Anthony Joshua, but as Kevin eloquently said, it's the right fight at the right time for Joseph Parker. So let's get to Joseph straight away. You say, or Kevin has said, you've been studying Anthony Joshua for a number of years. Do you believe this is your destiny and that you've got all the tools mentally and physically to be able to deal with what you've seen of Joshua so far?
Yeah, you know, I met Joshua once, or sort of met him back in Azerbaijan when we were amateurs, and he was doing quite well, and I've been studying him ever since then. I turned professional before him, and watched him at the Olympics. I watched him coming through when he first started his professional career, and I feel he is a good fighter, and he's got a lot of support, as you can see, and he does a lot of good things, and some things are not that good when he's fighting. But I think this is my time. I think it's my destiny to be here, to be part of this major event, and I feel like it's my time to to put up a great challenge, and I feel like I truly feel I'm going to win.
What do you think you do better than Joshua?
I feel I have better speed, I feel I have better movement, and I wasn't able to display it in my last few fights, but I think it's time for me to actually show what I can do in the ring.
And how do you feel about your promoter David's comments about Anthony Joshua? Have you been playing along with this, or what do you feel about it?
We're a team, so I back my promoter in what he's been saying, and I guess this is the way that he's trying to promote the fight as well.
David, was it to get the fight, or do you really believe that this is what's going to help you and Joseph beat Anthony Joshua on March the 31st?
I'd say both. I think without the noise we made, we certainly wouldn't have the fight on fair terms, I think. And I think both parties compromise. I think the deal's fair to both, so we're not complaining. But I also think the things we've been saying are accurate. So we're not, trash talks using swear words and so on, but I think
You might as well say them while we're here.
Oh, yeah, well, I think there's some mental weaknesses on display, because when Parker talked about the alleged incident being dropped, AJ said he felt he was being demonised, which I felt was a strong response for a factual analysis of, strengths and weaknesses. So I think he showed being rattled a touch, perhaps. And then there is the questionable chin. We're not saying he has a glass jaw, but we're going to find out on March 31, and maybe I'm wrong, and that's the beauty of boxing. If Joseph...
But you can't say what you've been saying, and then when you're 5 feet away from him, you can't let your bum deceive you.
Eddie, what have I been saying? I just said...
You said he might. You said he might have some mental weaknesses. You said he has mental weaknesses. You said he is mentally weak.
He is mentally weaker than Joseph Parker.
You said he's mentally weak.
Okay.
You don't
Anthony Joshua is mentally weaker.
You don't do what he is doing and be mentally weak. You don't walk out in front of your home city and win gold at the Olympics. You don't walk out in front of 80,000, empty your tank, get up off the floor and stop Vladimir Klitschko if you're mentally weak. You also said he has a glass chin. We're going to break his glass chin. Don't tell me, tell him he's here.
Okay, so look, I'll give you a small concession. He's mentally tougher than most people, but he's mentally weaker than Joseph Parker. And in terms of chin, got a better chin than me he has, but not as good as Joseph Parker. So there's a concession.
The fact is, when it comes down to it, you don't really believe. Because I've heard you all saying, someone's getting knocked out in this fight. It's either me or him. That's not the same feeling on this side of the table. This is 100% same as what we do every time. Win, knockout. It's not we might get knocked out, we might get hurt. We don't. We win this fight. So you can't say one thing and then when you get here say another. I appreciate you trying to build the fight, but do you truly believe you're going to win? The Team Parker truly believe they're going to win the fight. Not someone might get knocked out. Do you
honestly,
truly believe?
I believe it's the destiny of Joseph Parker to win the fight and make history.
The answer is no. Go on, Adam.
Anthony, as Rob says, you don't enter trash talking, but have you been riled by what's been said from David and the camp?
What's riled? Not really, nah. But it is what it is. As I said, we're here to handle business. First is the verbal wars before the physical ones. And it's part of the game. What can I say about the verbal wars? As I said, I'm not really into it as such because, it's an opportunity for both camps. I would fight him in the car park for free. It don't matter to me. Do you know where I'm coming from? This is what a fighter's mindset is. So that's what I want to do, is fight. That's why I don't take my foot off the gas. In terms of training camp, it's not as if I've started, I've lived it, and I still live it. I came in heavy for the Takan fight when we had a change of opponents, the motivation and all that malarkey. But I'm motivated, as I said, I just wanted to secure the win that fight so I can plan for a massive 2018. The trash talking as such. And when I was talking about the likes of Federers and so on, it wasn't in terms of replicating who they are. I'm just saying in terms of other sports, when we're talking about tennis and golf, I was saying that these heavyweight championship belts should be held in high esteem. And I don't want to come here and demonize Parker and say everything he's done is rubbish. You know, anyone that's just walked into a gym can achieve what he's done, because what he's done is phenomenal. It's history, it's groundbreaking. And that's what I'm trying to say. As champions up here, we should be holding our achievements in high esteem and show respect as ambassadors of the sport. That's where I was coming from. I'm not trying to replicate what he's done, but I'm saying in terms of other sports replicating where boxing is, I think the trash talking should still hold a sense of respect to what we've achieved. And world champion to world champion, I look at it like this. In terms of mental strength, it's all good. I've defeated champions. I've faced Olympic champions. So what Parker will see and who you say he is, I feel that he'll be looking at the mirror, because across the ring will be someone just like him, another world champion, another undefeated champion who's mentally tough, with speed, that can take a punch. And if he does take a punch, there's two types of people who take a punch. One who gets put down and stays down, or would you hate to fight the one who gets put down and gets up and keeps on coming? And that's who he's dealing with, really. So he'll be facing someone who he sees every day in the gym, who his coach sees every day in the gym, to reflect in the other corner. So that's what I think will make it a great fight.
Joseph has said he's been watching you for some time, many years, preparing for this moment. Have you done the same thing? Has he been one big name on the horizon for you? Or we know of the Tyson Furies, the Deontay Wilders, but what about Joseph Parker? How highly do you rate him, and how much have you studied him?
He's done really well. Him and his team have done really, really well. And from the amateurs to now, massive respect. And in terms of like studying, I like to study, you know, Meldrick Taylors, Jersey Joe Walcotts, Ezra Charles, old school fighters, to the new school. I like Canelo now. So I study more of these guys to kind of replicate what I do. I'm more interested in how I'm developing. You know, I'm coming from, and when I have an opponent to face, for that period of time, I'll worry about who they are. Because what I learned from the amateurs, due to my lack of experience, is I used to watch everyone, study who I'm fighting. And what I always learned is it was completely different from watching a YouTube clip to being across the ring from them in a tiny ring in front of thousands of people. Because, you know, when you're about to walk out, if I put a heart rate monitor on anyone, their heartbeat would probably be over 100 beats or whatever it is. So I'm just trying to say is that I haven't studied him diligently in the past. I study a lot of old school fighters more so, but I will study him in training camp. And the reason why I haven't studied him in the past is because I think it's a completely different fight from watching someone on YouTube to when you're across the ring from them, going round for round, trying to secure the win. It's completely two different things. So in terms of strengths and weaknesses, the focus is to win, you know, and do whatever you can to win. And it's like, I could be waiting for Joseph to throw a lazy jab the whole fight, but it could be something that he's brushed up on in this training camp. So in terms of his strengths and weaknesses, I don't know what they're going to work on this camp. This is going to be his best fight. So let me work on what I'm good at, what I'm weak at, and I'll bring something different. But at the end of the day, at heavyweight boxing, you know, this isn't a 3-round fight based on skills. This is a 12-round dogfight, and you've got to have heart.
Kevin, obviously this means a great deal to you to be involved in a fight like this. What will be different in your training camp out in Vegas this time to prepare for Anthony?
Well, yes, this fight does mean a great deal to me, and look, you know, we're fighting a very, very good fighter. In fact, if Joseph Parker doesn't bring his A game, it's going to be a very, very difficult night. When you get a big guy like Anthony Joshua coming forward all the time, letting his hands go, you know, we've got to slow that momentum down. We've got to be able to stop him. And, you know, I need Joseph to throw a lot more punches than what he has done in the last couple of fights. He needs to be far more active. You know, we realize that this is a really big test, but this is, you know, this is what we have been waiting for a long time. This is what really excites me, and it really excites Joseph Parker. Now you find out how good you really are when you fight the so-called best guy out there, because we believe that we're the best. And we're really, really happy that this fight was able to be put together. It's you know, these sort of fights don't happen very often. As you know, the last time in the world there was a unification fight in the heavyweight division was 7 years ago. So look, you know, this fight means a lot. And Joseph Parker is a historian. He knows that this is about his place in history, and he will give every single piece of sweat and every ounce of blood in his body to be the best he possibly can on March 31.
And Rob, you know you've got the guy that will do exactly the same thing, but tactically it's so different, isn't it, to Vladimir Klitschko and Carlos Takam?
Yeah, tactically it's different. The fight's different as well. It's not Takam, it's Parker for another belt. Josh will train hard. He'll look at Parker. We'll analyse him over the weeks in Sheffield, the long hard weeks in Sheffield, which I'm sure he'll enjoy. But he'll prepare seriously like he always does for opponents. And you know, the late pull-out of Pulev was really disappointing. And Kevin Barry, who's an experienced guy, will know that if the opponent pulls out a week before, it's very difficult. So it was a motivational thing. It's going to be the same for Parker when his opponent pulled out not long ago. But tactics are tactics, strategies are strategies, but a fight's a fight. And you know, I've already said talk's very cheap. We'll see what happens on the night. But, you know, I know what Anthony will do on the night. He'll be ready. He'll be as good as ever, if not better. And he's coming off the back of 21 rounds of boxing, which, you know, he struggled to get in his early years and early part of his career. So he'll be ready. He's the unified heavyweight champion. He takes on all challengers. Joseph Parker's only getting the opportunity to fight him because AJ wants it to happen. AJ generates huge crowds, lots of excitement, and he'll deliver that again on the 31st. Parker's good, but he's not as good as AJ, and we'll see that on the 31st as well.
Talk is cheap, but it is fun. David, have you got a final message to Team Joshua?
Yep, may the best man win, and we firmly believe for the after that analysis of strengths and weaknesses, it will be Joseph Parker on the night.
Joseph, final prediction from you?
I'm going to get that win, and I'll be unified. Trust me.
And Anthony?
Well, may the best champion win.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. It's a rare occasion that these fights come together. It's phenomenal. And you know what we bring. We bring fireworks. It's going to be good. You know, tactics, strengths, weaknesses. You know, people sitting closest to the ring will be able to hear leather trading. And as I said, I was a bit sceptical on how to take this camp because, as I said, I'm quite respectful to people, but I didn't want to switch it up. But I respect their camp as well. And hopefully after we can shake hands, and I hope that the people watching at home and in the arena are real winners because they'll enjoy a great fight.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Adam, and thanks for all coming today. We're going to pose for photos up here and then have the various interviews. Thank you very much.
Come back to the table.